worrying. The Dow down more than 1,000 points at the bell, the NASDAQ dropping more than 4%, giving up part of yesterday's historic gains when the president announced a tariff pause as many countries reach out to make new trade deals. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer.
We've had countries come in over the past couple of weeks that represent more than half of global domestic GDP, more than half. That's who's coming in to talk to you and to your advisors about how to have reciprocal trade, how to have fair trade.
Telling the president during a cabinet meeting today it wouldn't have happened without him. The health secretary says he'll identify why autism rates are rising this year.
Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says the federal government is launching a massive testing and research program to identify causes of autism.
By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
Kennedy making that promise during a cabinet meeting with President Trump.
There's got to be something artificial out there that's doing this. So you think you're going to have a pretty good idea, huh?
We will know by September.
No studies have linked autism to vaccinations, and researchers attribute a rise in diagnosis to better understandings of autism and widespread screening.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. The U.S. Transportation Secretary hitting back at what he calls fear-mongering, posting that no safety-critical positions have been cut at the FAA. This after a post from New Jersey Democratic Congressman Josh Gottheimer that recent cuts weaken public safety. He was one of the lawmakers on an American Airlines jet that had its wing bumped by another jet on a taxiway at Reagan Airport today. The FAA investigating. Just getting word of a helicopter crash into the Hudson River between New York City and New Jersey. The fire department says rescue operations are underway. There is no confirmation yet of casualties. America is listening to Fox News.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get your second month free for a limited time. You'll get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month. Here's Veronica and Jackie, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
And now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free when they use promo code SECONDFREE. Just call, click, or bring us your bill and see how much you can save. Because when it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or ConsumerCellular.com and use code SECONDFREE to get a free second month. Real people paid to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
The U.S. Marshals Service getting involved after a convicted killer was accidentally released from a jail outside Atlanta.
Authorities in Clayton County, Georgia, south of Atlanta, blame a paperwork blunder for accidentally releasing Kathan Guzman into the community. He's been serving a life sentence for strangling his 19-year-old ex-girlfriend, Delilah Grayson, to death. Her mother, Christina Grayson.
The DA promised me that he would never get out. They looked me in my face and they promised me.
She adds the family is fearful, and it took law enforcement a full week to inform them.
Fox's Evan Brown, investigators asking for the public's help as the search continues. After more than a year imprisoned in Russia, dual U.S. citizen Ksenia Karelina heads home, released in a prisoner swap early today in the UAE.
Hours earlier, footage showed the amateur ballerina getting out of a van in Russia and onto her initial flight. Karelina, a Los Angeles resident and a worker at a spa, was arrested in February of last year in Yekaterinburg, Russia, during a visit to see her family. She was jailed for donating only roughly $50 to a charity supporting Ukraine on the first day of Russia's full invasion. The court found her guilty of high treason, sentencing her to 12 years in a penal colony.
Fox's Alex Hogan. Karelina was traded for a German-Russian dual national who was accused of exporting sensitive U.S. electronics for use in Russia's military. Britain's Prince Harry makes an unannounced visit to Ukraine. A spokesperson says it's part of his ongoing work with wounded veterans. The Duke of Sussex visiting an orthopedic clinic that treats and rehabilitates wounded military personnel and civilians, accompanied by a contingent from the Invictus Games Foundation. Recapping stocks, the Dow drops 1,014 points. The S&P down more than 3%. The NASDAQ down more than 700. And Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Two Men and a Junk Truck is emptying their truck, and they have some great items. It's their first ever Second Chance garage sale. They rescue cool stuff from heading to the landfill, dusting it off, and offering it to you. Two Men and a Junk Truck believes in second chances. That's why they're holding their Second Chance garage sale. They rescue fantastic items from the landfill, giving them a new lease on life. Maybe with you. Come find furniture, household goodies, and unique treasures ready for their second act. Give something pre-loved a new home. Saturday, April 12th, 8 a.m. until noon at the Two Men and a Junk Truck office at 701 West Bradley Avenue. The proceeds from Second Chance garage sale go directly to Courage Connection. Double the good vibes. Don't miss the Second Chance garage sale. Find deals. Do good. Get all the details at twomenajuncktruck.com. Come out to the Second Chance garage sale at 701 West Bradley Avenue from 8 a.m. until noon on April 12th. Shop for a cause with Stevie J Broadcasting.
Logan, everyone, let's check weather for East Central Illinois, Champaign and vicinity. Another damp morning across the area. Get used to it. That's the way it plays on out. Best window for any early season field work if it's firm enough out there over the next 2 or 3 days and part of the weekend into the weekend, too, with a general warming trend short-lived. Another couple of cold fronts and another couple of shower outbreaks expected for next week, but at least no major spring storm systems on the maps and charts. Partly sunny skies after the patchy fog birds away. There may be a stray shower in here mid to late morning and back in for the late afternoon up to 58 on a light west-northwest wind. Lingering shower chance this evening, mostly cloudy, 37. Could be a fog patch again here tomorrow morning to start off, then partly sunny and 53. Back up to near 60 on a bit of a west-southwest wind developing for the day on Saturday. Good-looking day there. A warmer Sunday at 66, up to 73, and maybe a shower or two in the morning on Monday. Back to some chillier weather, but dry next Tuesday and Wednesday. Highs into the 50s, back to the 60s late next week, and a couple more scattered showers and thunderstorms too. For Stevie J Broadcasting, I'm meteorologist Greg Solgay.
Hey, what's up? It's the Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Derek Piper, Kyle Tosk. Lante will be back tomorrow. He's been out all week, load management style, but he will be here for one show. Make sure that it's not a empty Lante week, and he'll drop by and probably tell us that he's got a bet on the guy leading the Masters. So he's had good luck in golf. I have no idea who he ended up placing a bet on, but that's pretty awesome. As we sit here today, the sunshine is out. It's about 60 degrees. We got our front door open. Masters on the TV. As of right now, Justin Rose is at the top of the leaderboard, 6 under through 12. So he's got a chance to further that lead as this round goes along. Corey Connors, Scotty Scheffler finished up at -4. They're tied for second. Terrell Hatton, Rory McIlroy sitting there at 3 under as well. Kyle, you ended up placing a better 2, right, on the Masters?
I ended up going with 3, and none of them look all that great so far. I had Morikawa at 18-1. I had Koepka at 30-1. He's been awful today. And I had DeChambeau, I think, at 25-1 or something like that. He's 1 under right now, but neither of the 3 have gotten off the blazing start. So
I do see Bryson now 2 under through 9.
Okay,
so
I'll
he's
take
not that far back. I'm also on Bryson DeChambeau. Cam Smith's another guy that I've taken. He's -1 through the entirety of this first round. Austin asked on the Max Twin City Recycling text line, who do you guys have winning the Masters? To that point, Kyle shared who he ultimately bet on. I feel partly responsible for recommending Brooks Koepka to Kyle.
Although I was thinking about it already.
As a guy that's played really well in majors, I put a bet on him too, and I can't quit, even though I did for a while, but I'm back in on the Victor Hovland bandwagon, although I don't know that he's had a great day. I haven't been following exactly what he's done. I think at later tee time, he's +1 through 10. Let us know on the Max Twin City Recycling text line who you're backing in the Masters, whether rooting for, betting on, who you think will win this thing. Scheffler's just so consistent, man. Although he's not in the lead right now, but you mentioned it yesterday. Was it DraftKings? He was like, he was less than even money to finish top 5.
He was -115 to finish top 5, which is absolutely absurd. Now, I did just do some digging into some of the different DraftKings markets and just some of these different things they're offering. I did find Scotty Scheffler plus 105 to be the top past champion, meaning he'll finish the highest among all past champions, and I got in on that at plus 105.
Nice.
Feel pretty good about that. He'd have to battle, John Rahm, who's 2 over, I think, right now. Hideki is 2 under, and a few others that I don't have much concern about. So I feel like that one could age pretty well. And to answer the original question from Austin, like if I had to place my pick on one guy to win, I don't think I could go with anybody other than Scotty. It's no fun to bet him at like plus 300 to win the thing.
Right. Not that much value as far as that goes, like having a little bit more of an higher odds chase for sure. Wondered how Thomas Dietrich would play in this. He had a PGA win earlier this year at the Phoenix Open. The Waste Management's a good one to come away with the victory. Not having a great day. He's plus 7 as he finished up at a 79 today. So not a great round for him, but proud Illini alum, and it's great to see him get a PGA win earlier this year. Phil Mickelson, notable name, plus 3. John Rahm, plus 2 through 8. Brooks Koepka also at plus 2 through 10. I can't talk. But
I guess Spieth would be another one I'd have to compete with on that bet. How's he?
Let's see. Where is Spieth at? He is plus 1, finished up for the day.
Yeah, I think I'm feel good about that one.
How would you feel about getting out there? I was trying to think of this today, and there's probably no way of coming up with an answer, but what would the average, and I know the average is all relative, right? Like an average golfer to somebody that's good is going to be a lot different than an average golfer to me, who is, play on the weekends number of times through the spring and summer, not play consistently. What would an average golfer shoot at Augusta? I've wondered that.
An average golfer. Yeah, it's hard. You'd have to define what is average. Like, what would an average golfer shoot at Lake of the Woods?
Yeah, that's a good question. Under 100, right? I mean,
I guess that's average.
Yeah, what is par at Lake of the Woods? I don't know off the top of my head. That is a hard question. Okay, let's do it.
I think the
what
average
would you and I
golfer,
shoot at Augusta? 200?
150, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I'm definitely behind you in terms of golf ability.
I don't know, man.
I'm not horrendous, but I
might
definitely
be ahead of me.
I'm not good by any means. I'd consider myself a below average golfer pretty easily. So.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at too. I think sometimes I play out that I'm worse than maybe I am, but I'm not great by any means.
There'd be
not even average.
There'd be so many of those holes at Augusta where it would take 18 strokes probably I'd 8-putt a hole with those greens. I'd keep knocking it off the green probably. So I'd put my over under at probably like 149.5 or something like that, and that might even be way too generous.
That's a solid line. I did think today, if anybody, I'm in the golf mood here, watching the Masters, and you see the nice weather, and even into the weekend, I'm sure a handful of people will be trying to get out to the course Saturday in the 60s, sunny, probably a good time, especially in the afternoon, to get out there. More windy on Sunday and cloudy. I think it's going to be low 70s, but the wind into the 20 miles an hour as far as what I saw. So if you got a funny golf story, a proud golf story, one that you're willing to admit as far as a blunder, I could probably offer up on all of those, more so in the blunder and the funny stories than anything else. But one of my, and I use it as a funny story that I've told at Lake of the Woods on that it's U of I on that second hole where you get the pine trees on the right on blue, and being able to be a little too far right of the pin, but just catch enough of those trees that just drops right on the green. And that's I have made it to the green without obstruction.
You're so bad it was good.
It was such a bad shot that it was good. It was great. I've also been in a situation where maybe I had one too many sodas and ended up, getting a little off kilter in terms of where I was what pin I was supposed to be shooting at. I wasn't at a familiar golf course. So I'm like, I think I was off into the rough somewhere, and I'm like, oh, there's the hole, and I'll just go for that one. And then I see my two buddies on the other green. I'm like, okay, so this is not the hole that I'm supposed to be on.
See, I've definitely had a few times where I've hit a ball really close to the hole, but it was on the wrong hole. But I was aiming for the right hole.
Yeah.
Unlike you, I wasn't
Oh,
confused.
yeah.
I was aiming for the right hole. I had a great shot if it was on hole 6, but I'm on hole 10. So that's there's definitely a few of those instances.
This must be a 700-yard hole or something like that. I'm already all the way off over here, but there it is. I'll just aim for that one. Nope, that's the wrong hole, buddy. Wade says, when I played, I was an all-Army golfer. Left, right, left, right. I was never in my own fairway. Yeah, that sounds about familiar, Wade. We could play together. Although if we're scrambling, you and I should probably be on separate teams. So, yeah, continue to file those in as we go along today. We'll talk some college hoops. The dead period ends tomorrow, so visitors will be back on campus. There is an Illini target who will be taking a visit that's been reported. It will not be to Illinois to start things off, and we can fill you in as far as that goes. I want to talk a little baseball with Kyle today. I was thinking about some burning questions around the MLB as things sit right now. And actually, in terms of dabbling with some of the markets out there betting-wise, I wondered, what, as of today, does the season-long leader in home runs, what does that look like? What is certain statistical categories, just now that we have like 2 weeks of sample size, is anybody that's gotten off to a slow start that would look like they'd be of good value? Anybody that's top of the leaderboard in certain stats that are a huge surprise? I want to look at those as we go along. But Ian Jackson, as we've talked about, the transfer from North Carolina, who played as a freshman, coming off of being a McDonald's All-American and top 10 prospect in the 2024 class from the Bronx. Illinois had a Zoom call with him and trying to tap into that Orlando-Antigua connection, which he recruited him hard at Kentucky, and obviously he's very tied in the East Coast. But he will take an official visit to St. John's starting tomorrow. That's been reported by John Rothstein, and I think he had it first, and others have picked that up as well. But St. John's has been viewed as the team to beat as soon as that he went into the portal. I even was digging back into some of his high school stuff, and I stumbled across an article where there was a wonder, would Rick Pitino even try to flip him when he was committed but not yet signed? And ultimately he ended up going to North Carolina anyway. But that's right obviously in his hometown or thereabouts, there in New York City, and family and everything like that. Plus St. John's has proven to be a really good basketball program under Pitino, and they have plenty of NIL as well. They've been very competitive. They landed a huge fish in Kadari Richmond last offseason, and he'll be moving on, and RJ Luis is gone as well. So that's one to watch out for if he does get off campus, not committed. It'd be interesting to see where else he might visit. Arkansas has been involved. John Calipari trying to tap into his familiarity with him as well. But I haven't heard of an Illinois visit being locked in. It's something they've discussed. But obviously you got to be able to get over that first hurdle of seeing if he doesn't commit to St. John's, which as of right now, that does seem to be the team to knock off the top of the totem pole.
Price wouldn't be an issue there if Illinois had the opportunity.
It sounds high. I think that you'd have to make some decisions where it's been reported that he's in, which isn't surprising. I mean, we talked yesterday that JT Toppin staying at Texas Tech, which Texas Tech has a boatload of money, but for $4 million. We know that some other guys in the portal, we talked about Josh Dix being like a $2 million, maybe even a $2.5 million kind of player. I think Ian Jackson is going to push maybe $3 million, it sounds like. And for Illinois, it is going to, I think and this will drive us into a conversation that I think is interesting, that as we are in this window of, we know who's in the portal right now, we know the settlement isn't yet passed through, and there are other players that Illinois has heard of through agents and everything. We've talked about this before. It's a very, I wouldn't say small circle, but there's a lot of information's passed around. It's easy to have feelers passed on to you or for teams to put feelers out. But anyways, I think as you try to evaluate who might go in the portal, but also for Illinois, there's known names of guys that you would want to spend big money on that haven't made decisions yet. Will Riley, as far as an NBA draft decision. Dame Sarr, as far as what he's going to do, and he continues to participate out in Portland. I saw some highlights of him. They're going through a lot of drills and stuff this week, and they are performing in front of scouts, including NBA scouts. But it is the game that's going to take place on Saturday night that will really have probably a big say in where or how high his NBA stock is trending. So I think if you're Illinois, do you want to play the waiting game on some of these, the chance to see it through with Will Riley, the chance to see however long you have to wait it out with Dame Sarr, or would you be willing to say, hey, we'll go all out for Ian Jackson, and that could affect how much money we have left? So I think they're able to spend that price tag on somebody, but would they want to do it on the front end? And even if you were willing to pay upwards of $3 million, maybe he just wants to play back home, and maybe that's just going to be something that you wouldn't be able to win out against. So that's the way I see it right there. But it has been something I've been thinking about, like, how aggressive will they be? To what point are they going to always in the back of their mind say, hey, we got to always keep $3 million or whatever it is off to the side in case Will in May tells us, hey, they're telling me I should probably go back, and you make that happen.
That right there is what I was kind of getting at, because I think if you're Illinois right now, based on where your roster currently is and just where we sit in this whole portal cycle, I think you have to be operating with the ability to spend on a big name player. Like, you have to know if that right piece is available, whether it's Will. Would Dame fit in that category as like your splash addition of the offseason, or would you maybe you probably already have some type of financial planning done for what he would command and that would look like, since you've been recruiting him for so long. So I'd imagine that maybe that's not necessarily, stopping you from going after another big name guy. But the general point being, I think if you're Illinois, you need to have a good chunk of change set aside for somebody, whatever that fit is, whatever that piece is. It's risky because you don't maybe have that guy yet, like you said, but I think there's still going to be plenty of options, whether it's Ian Jackson. If you like Ian Jackson enough and you want to say this is going to be our marquee transfer edition, or if he ends up going to St. John's, then, hey, we still have a week and a half left of the portal open. Who knows who's going to enter? What could Jameer Watkins' situation look like once he goes through the draft process? Like you said with Will, I do think, as we've talked about, this roster is still missing a bona fide starter, whether at the guard spot or the wing spot, a bona fide go-to scorer. You don't have it yet. Time is starting to run out a little bit, but there's still plenty of it. I think if you're Illinois, you need to be ready when that right piece makes itself available, whoever that is. Money can't be an issue for you. You need to be ready to, because especially as we get later in the offseason, as we saw with Coleman Hawkins last year, some of these other guys, once the cupboard gets bare with names and you've got teams that are desperate, there's only a few top guys in the portal, and the money probably goes towards overpay territory. And if your entire season outlook, your roster, a big hole on your roster is dependent on that one piece, you wouldn't want to be somebody that has everything in terms of sell connections and you get outbid for that perfect piece that you need, whoever that may be. So I think you've got to be prepared money-wise based on these dollar figures being thrown around to pay up for whoever that perfect fit is, whether it's Jackson or somebody later on.
No doubt about that. I think it's interesting, too, as you see the numbers that have come across the radar on the front end of this cycle in terms of what guys are getting, or what we've heard that like a Josh Dix would get. I think to a lot of people, $2 million for Josh Dix seems like kind of a crazy amount of money, right? Or that Brock Harding would even get $800,000, or that, Owen Freeman would be in the $2 million range, that Merez Johnson could go to the portal and command $1.5 million, or that be like his asking price, and that he was scooped up pretty immediately by Michigan. So like that shows you that how much the market has inflated.
Yep.
And the point I was going to make about it is that while there's some that maybe I think you would think in this direction, as far as on one hand you've got the unrestrained NIL right now. You don't have to go through any oversight process. You don't have to be fair market value. It's just this is NIL, we can pay you what you want, and this is what the current transfer portal market says guys are getting. On the other standpoint of it is a lot of people have the money right now, and if you are in the early stages of building your roster, you can throw money and not have as many limitations. As time goes on, and maybe and then the settlement gets passed, you might say, oh, well, then the price tag, could that go down? Could the number of suitors involved go down? I don't think so. Like it just the way we've seen it play out, there are going to be teams that whether either intentionally are saving their money or missed out on guys that they wanted and still have money, and then they will just be looking to be desperate and spend a bunch of their resources on as far as that goes. So I don't think it'll get cheaper, and that's where you kind of got to weigh, do we want to spend this amount? Is this above what we want to pay, but are we going to hold on what we would think, or are we going to, concede and be like, you know what, we didn't want to give that much money, but I don't know that we'll come away with bargains, or even just like, hey, I think we won this transaction for a marquee level player.
And as you get to this point now, like, you're running risks every time you not that Illinois has necessarily done that so far, like you said, with a guy like Ian Jackson. Maybe he just wants to play back home in St. John's. Maybe
like Josh Dix.
Yeah,
like, I don't think Illinois got outbid. He wanted to go close to home.
But if there is a situation where you end up in a bidding war with a piece, whether it is Jackson or another guy like him, whoever that might be, and the prices start to climb beyond where you're comfortable getting to, and you let that piece slip away, time starts to run out. Like there are big holes on this Illinois roster right now. There are glaring holes, and Illinois hasn't necessarily filled those so far, nor has there necessarily been like a guy. It's like, oh, they're hot in pursuit. Like since Dix committed to Creighton, there hasn't been another guy other than Jackson, who it sounds like is probably more of a long shot for Illinois. Illinois' been like deep in the mix of, and we are starting to get towards mid-April, and like, so if that piece happens to become available, you're running a risk. Even if, let's say, in your mind you value somebody at a certain price, but some of these teams, whether it's Texas Tech, Arkansas, all these teams are just throwing dollar figures around, and they're crazy. I think you almost have to recalibrate in your mind. There's the tendency to be like, no way, that player's worth that. Well, like you said, the way that these dollar figures have inflated, you almost have to get rid of that notion and just be like, if you want a really good college basketball player, you got to pay probably more than you should to get them. And I just think Illinois, when the perfect opportunity arises, which I still think at some point it will, maybe it is just Will Riley or maybe it is another transfer, they cannot let money be the reason they miss out on that piece, because then you're really starting to run the risk of, we haven't filled probably the most glaring hole on this roster right now, and a week from Monday is the last day of the portal window, and at that point, your options are going to start to run dry. So you got to be ready to pounce when that opportunity comes.
100%. And you've got to have the flexibility, obviously, to add a Will Riley if he is pushed back to coming to Illinois. So I would fully expect that to be set aside in some capacity, however that has to work. And I would imagine it'd be rev share money, which there is a risk, though. There is a risk for waiting that out, and then Will stays in, or waiting that out, and then the pivot options, guys that do come back to school, you don't hit on one of those. I do think that from the standpoint of a wing or big guard, somebody with the ability to play a focal point in this offense, maybe even be your go-to scorer, what all the Illinois has going for them, including money, which they will have, they do have right now, along with opportunity, along with some NBA development. Like if Will stays in, you were able to help turn Will Riley into a one-and-done draft pick. KJ, Terrence Shannon, Ios in the NBA. So I think Illinois is going to have a great sell, but you do want to make sure that you don't get caught saving resources, obviously, and then you don't get the big fish that you decided to maybe be a little bit more patient for.
I think you have to operate your offseason with the assumption that Will isn't coming back. Build a roster that doesn't involve Will Riley. And then if Will Riley is pushed back towards you. You sit down with Icon or Josh Whitman or whoever it is, and you figure out how to get the resources to bring him back. Because, again, I do just think it would be such a risk to say, okay, we're going to build a roster around a piece like Will Riley and pray to God that he comes back to school. And if he doesn't, then we're scrambling for a couple other NBA guys, or we're going to have a big hole in our roster. We're not going to have a go-to scorer, whatever the case may be. Like it's almost a situation where, not to say that you shouldn't have at least some planning done, or as you've said, the communication you've already had with Riley's camp of what things would look like, and everybody would have that understanding, but build a team that doesn't involve him. And if he does, then you figure it out and you make it work for a piece like that. Because if you don't do that, then boy, you'd really get nervous about just not fulfilling what this roster needs around Kylan and Tommy and all these guys. Because, I mean, you have a nice foundation right now, but you still probably need 2 starters, one of those being a legitimate scoring option in that lineup. 1 or 2 starters, I guess Ty could be a starter, but you need at minimum 1 bona fide starter, probably multiple guards, a wing. Like you need to fill out this team. So it's the longer it goes without filling those needs, the risk runs higher that you're going to be left short of what you envision next year's group being around your returning core. You got to maximize this continuity that you have created.
For sure. I wanted to get to that, and I think we can expand on that a little bit more next segment, as far as we've emphasized primary scorer, guard that can create his own shot and maybe be your top scoring option. That seems to have been and continues to be the biggest area of need, especially after you got Tommy back. So beyond that, beyond what the number one need is, how many big needs are there? Is it 1 starter? Is it 2 starters? What do the other pieces have to look like? I did want to pitch this out to the text line as well, 217-359-2255. If you're in the Oven basketball facility, if you're making some of these judgments as far as resources, how much money are you saving for Will Riley? And you could add on as well, Will Riley, or then we have to pivot. I think that's an interesting question as far as the way that goes. The one note that has gotten more complicated with the settlement and the assumption that it is going to get passed here very soon is that going to Icon, you are limited, because assuming that the third-party evaluation of those NIL deals is going to go into effect, then a big money NIL deal to Will Riley, unless it's effectively through a corporation that has a rooting interest in Illinois, similar to like a Barstool Sports with Bryce Underwood. And I wonder, would that deal pass in what we're about to enter into, that new world?
Are we positive that this settlement is going to get passed here very soon?
I think so. I can't say for sure. It seems all indications are it's going to get passed, and it is expected to get passed in the near future. I don't know how long this process could take. I'm no expert, nor did I.
Once you delay it once, I just wonder if it gets delayed forever.
Never know. I think it's fine to be skeptical about anything, especially when it comes to college sports and trying to add guardrails to the Wild West as it is right now. So let's talk about the needs that still persist for Illinois basketball. We'll take your text, 217-359-2255 on the Max Twin City Recycling text line. We'll talk some baseball as we go along as well and update you on how things are going at Augusta. Stick with us. This is The Drive.
Preventative care is a key factor in maintaining your overall health. Don't delay your health care. If you haven't already scheduled your annual wellness checkup and any recommended screenings and immunizations, do it today. Christie Clinic primary care physicians have same-day appointments available. Talk to a Christie Clinic physician about important screenings and immunizations. You don't want to delay. Make an appointment today at ChristieClinic.com and click on online scheduling. Take care of yourself and put your health first.
Race weekend, April 24th through the 26th. Illinois Marathon.com.
It's great when hard work and experience are recognized. Hi, this is Ryan Heiser, President and CEO of Fisher National Bank. I am thrilled to share that Fisher National has been ranked 7th in the nation as a top lender in mortgage loans among banks with asset size of $300 million to $1 billion by our National Banking Association. This recognition is a testament to our lending team's dedication and expertise. After all, better banking experiences start with local people and local decision making. If you're in the market for a new home or considering refinancing your existing home, let our team at Fisher National Bank earn your business and trust. We offer competitive rates with low closing costs, and we locally service almost all of our loans. Come see us with all your home mortgage needs and experience the top-notch service that has earned us national recognition. Learn more at fishernational.com or stop by one of our branches today.
Fisher National Bank. Exceptional communities, exceptional people. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Fighting Illini fans, your Illinois football team is coming off a 10-win season as Citrus Bowl champs. This fall, Illinois returns 18 starters from the Citrus Bowl victory, including star quarterback Luke Altmaier for a third straight season. Led by head coach Brett Bielema, the Fighting Illini are listed on nearly every major top 25 ranking for the 2025 season. Stay up to date on all things Fighting Illini football at fightingillini.com. We can't wait to see you back in Memorial Stadium this fall.
Sarah Champagne's Ben Quattrone on keeping his employees.
It's got to be the place to work. We have to pay the best. We have to treat people the best. Some of the guys wanted to order pizza the other day. Well, we bought 30 Papa Del's pizzas. BMW had the best month they've ever had. They said, can we have a cookout? Saturday, I cooked like 50 ribeye steaks. And they were expecting like cheese, burgers and hot dogs and stuff. Like, if I'm eating steak, you're eating steak. We both eat steak, we both eat hamburger.
Learn more at sarahchampagne.com.
Tired of trying to keep up with Old Man Jones and his perfect lawn? Spring Green knows that we can't all spend hours a day creating that perfect shade of green, killing off all that crabgrass, and making sure every insect in the neighborhood doesn't call your lawn home this year. At Spring Green, they take the hassle out of your lawn headache with services such as lawn fertilization, weed control, grub and insect control, lime treatments, and even bush and tree care. Let the experts at Spring Green help you this season. For more information, visit them at spring-green.com. Spring Green, America's neighborhood lawn care team.
Actually, I called a provider. It was just going to be a while before I could have service, and I couldn't wait, so I was recommended to Classic. Professionalism, their dependability, credibility, and the service technicians. I wouldn't ever call anybody else.
I truly believe that after people have experienced other companies and then given us a try, they can clearly see the difference.
Visit ClassicPlum.com. Race fans, the World of Outlaws late model superstars are racing to Farmer City Friday and Saturday, April 11th and 12th. It's the storied Illini 100 featuring the most powerful dirt late models on the planet, plus the rising stars of the Extreme Outlaw Midget Series, also tackling the Farmer City Bull Ring. Get $5 off each ticket with the code FARMER when you purchase in advance at worldofoutlaws.com. That's the code FARMER for $5 off in advance. World of Outlaws at Farmer City Raceway, April 11th and 12th. Buy online or call 844-DIRT-TICKS.
Jets is hiring. Call 217-352-9992 or stop into 1907 West Springfield Avenue near Round Barn in Champaign. Jets is open till 10 p.m., Fridays and Saturdays till midnight. Are you looking for a side hustle? Here's Josh from Jets talking about the benefits of doing deliveries.
When I was a delivery driver, it was amazing how much the actual amount of money I had just shot right up. It's hard to describe. You have money in your pocket every single day.
For details on joining the team, visit jetspizza.com.
Back on the Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. I failed to mention Brian Campbell, also an Illini golf alum, playing at the Masters. He's +1 through 17. Pretty respectable +1 considering he's currently tied with Dustin Johnson, Sergio Garcia, Brooks Koepka, Victor Hovland. Pretty good. Pretty good.
That'll put you in a good spot to make the cut.
No doubt. No doubt about that. Let's see. Like we said, Justin Rose, -6. He's still at that spot through 14. Corey Connors, Scheffler, once again also finished up at -4. Rory making a push late here, -3 through 11. He's looking for his Triple Crown, right? Or however they call it.
Career Grand Slam.
Grand Slam, yeah. Triple Crown, Grand Slam. Yes. That would be the one I was looking for. Hideki Matsuyama, Bryson DeChambeau, -2 through 10. We'll keep you updated on the leaderboard at Augusta as we go along. Going into the break, we were talking transfer portal, roster construction, how much money you'd want to save for a late Will Riley push if you were considering coming back from the NBA draft, which I do need to mention, he has not declared yet for the NBA draft. Neither has Gasparis Yakuchonis, but fully expected that both will do so. There really is no situation. I know that Tommy was a guy that we thought it would make sense to declare for the draft, and I said that I felt like there was value for him if he wanted to explore that, to get the feedback, to do some workouts with teams and all of that. But as we discussed after he returns and also Big Z commits, that his twin brother coming here, a guy that couldn't go through the draft process because he's already done it twice, that maybe that just landed Tommy on, you know what, I'm going to be here, my brother's going to be here, and Illinois is going to take care of me, both in terms of development and the money that I'm looking for to play another year in college. I don't see any reason. There's literally nothing that makes sense for Illinois could come to Will Riley with $4 million. And I don't think it would be a smart choice for him to say, I'm not going to declare for the draft.
He's declaring sometime soon.
Yeah.
Just be ready for his Twitter posts about declaring for the draft. It's coming within the next couple weeks. It's not.
Kyle and Will Riley hanging out on campus.
I mean,
if you didn't know, now you know.
There's 0.0 chance that he wouldn't go through the process.
Yes, correct. $4 million would be a nice chunk to try to consider coming back to school.
Yeah, it would.
That's something that he could make.
That would absolutely be more money than he would make next year in the NBA under almost any circumstance, unless his stock skyrockets to like a bona fide lottery pick.
I feel like I keep bringing up that rookie pay scale. Go to Spot Track here, and if he's below 16 in the draft, which ESPN had him mocked at 16, that would be pretty much close to a flat $4 million in his first year. So 16 and below, or 16 and above, you're talking about $4 million and up for that first year. Below that, if he were to be say 23 is $2.9 million in that first year, 3.1 in the next year. 21 is 3.1 and then 3.4. So you do have to look at it from the standpoint of it's a 2-year agreement for that rookie. If he's drafted in the first round, he gets 2 years fully guaranteed. But from the standpoint of Illinois, yes, they could pretty much match anything in that middle of the first round. And it'd be a pretty significant jump if he were to go above that in terms of what he's been mocked as or anything as far as that goes.
So would $4 million probably be the number that you would want to try to be at?
I mean,
or is that
if you could get there, yeah.
Is that just probably not going to be doable based on how much money Illinois has to still give to Kylan and Tommy and Big Z and Sarr and Mirkovic? Are you just not going to be able to get that high?
I think as far as we've talked about before with Sarr, it feels like unless something changes, that Sarr and his camp want to see Will Riley stay in the draft.
Okay.
They feel like from a role standpoint, he really wants to take on what Will was doing last year. Now, he has some differences in his game, which we've highlighted before. But I think also from a money standpoint from Illinois, that to pay a high price for Will Riley, I'm not saying you can't end up making it work. Like some of the things I've heard is, you know, I used the example before. I know that we weren't in an era where you're throwing millions and millions of dollars around, but Adam Miller was like, I want to see Ayo gone so that I could come in and not play in his shadow and not have to, you know, share the role. Ultimately, I was recruited to be in his shoes, and Ayo comes back and Adam ends up staying. So it has been said to me that if you were to get Dame on board and you then had Will go through the process and he gets pushed back to school, then obviously you try to make it work, and there would be a thought that maybe that it ends up working out. But I think on the front end, it seems like, and really for a while, ever since I really started hearing about Dame and things picking up for Illinois, it's like, hey, you know, it's going to be an either or with those guys most likely, and that even if Dame commits and Will comes back, most likely Dame would then decommit and look for somewhere else.
That makes sense. I just wonder, like, okay, if you get to that, let's say 3.5 to 4 range, then it becomes a little bit more interesting when you look at it that way, because you could go to Will and say, okay, maybe you think you're fairly confident that you'll be taken between picks 16 and 30, like the back half of the first round. Not fully, you haven't gotten any guarantees, but you feel like more likely than not I'll probably get taken in the late part of the first round. Even if that happens, now I wouldn't blame anybody for saying first round pick, I feel good about it, I'm staying in the draft. That's obviously what you would lean towards. But it'd at least get a little bit more interesting if you got to that figure to where you could confidently say you will make more money next year at Illinois than you would the first year of that contract you're signing next year. Plus, you'll be playing here as the superstar on campus here, playing college basketball and not playing in the G League for at least part of the season, if not a good majority of the season, which is probably where you would project, assuming that's probably a contending playoff team that drafts him. He'd probably be developing in the G League for a year. That sell all of a sudden gets interesting, and then pair that with we have Adam Fletcher, we have all these plans laid out. We will make you a lottery pick next year to where you're now going to get far more guaranteed money than you'd get at pick 20. And next year, if you just work hard enough and obviously trust yourself to be able to develop in that and trust the plan we have in place, that all of a sudden becomes at least something you hear out if you're Will Riley's camp, right? And this is something that you probably would have never had even a question about. Anybody who feels remotely confident they'd be a first-round pick before you could get to these $4 million amounts, it wouldn't even be a discussion. But if you can exceed potentially that first-year money, then we start to talk about maybe it does make some sense to at least consider Illinois.
I feel like I've cracked the door open on Kyle as far as could this happen?
You maybe have.
I'm not trying to convince you of it. I think it's just a path that maybe is under consideration, or if Illinois was able to get there on the money side of it, that it could be a little bit of a different ball game than $2 to $2.5
You're
million.
right, though. I've been firm, no way it happens, but thinking about it in that context, it becomes a little bit more interesting. You feel like it has a little more plausibility to it. Yeah. But that would require Illinois, to answer your original question you posed before the break, how much money would you set aside to make that a real reality? You probably would have to get to like above 3 minimum, right?
Mm-hmm. And then that gets risky in the case that he stays in.
As we just talked about, if you're trying to build a roster that doesn't involve him and then, oh, wait, he maybe isn't getting the feedback he wants. Now you need to scrap together $3.5 million.
Right.
Then that becomes really difficult.
There's that side of it.
Or you set it
but also
aside.
You're too patient.
Yeah.
You wait it out and say, we're going to make sure we continue to sit on our pile of $3.5 million in case Will Riley wants to come back, and then he doesn't want to come back.
Right.
I do think one thing I would add to what you said, which were a lot of good points on why he would consider that if that was where he was mocked at or projected as, and if that was the money he could get to go back to school, that another thing is if he was in line to be, say, pick 20 this year, $3.3 million and then $3.5 million in year 2, part of going back to Illinois, which they would say, is if you come back to a if they have $3.5 million, we'll pay you more than what you'd make in year 1. We'll develop you. You'll be a star here. What if you're pick 8 after your second year at Illinois?
Exactly.
That would be $6.2 million and then $6.6 million in year 2 if you waited that out.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was getting at in terms of like you're going to be passing up the guaranteed money right now, but we'll make it worth your while because we're going to pay you more year 1, and unless something disastrous happens, we will make you a lot more money on that contract if you just wait a year, because you could double the amount of money that you're worth by just moving up from pick 20 to pick 8, which that has to be the number. I mean, that's the number one sell to getting a guy to come back to school, is we can improve your stock enough to where, yeah, you're passing up this contract now, but this is the contract that you can get. All it takes is development. And if you're Will Riley, you have to, and Will Riley's camp, agent, family, whoever it is, he developed quite a bit throughout the season. You saw it with your eyes as this season went on. Will Riley got a lot better and showed off pretty much everything you'd want to see if you're an NBA scout. Now you can promise him, hey, KJ's gone. Now you got even more on-ball opportunity. You're the star here. Why would he not be a lottery pick unless something awful happens after a year?
There would be no reason other than I feel like injury would be the one thing you would be risking, and that is a big one. And I know that a lot of people always bring up, well, you could take out insurance on that, and it's just it doesn't make up for the fact of you wouldn't get drafted where you want to go, even if you do end up getting hurt, which that just is a very big risk. So that's something that I think would be on the other side of that coin if you were to argue against why he maybe shouldn't go back to school. Also, there's the point of, yeah, you might make a few more 100,000 or whatever it might be, a couple 100,000 more to go back to school if that situation's even in place for you. But the difference could also be made up. You'd be one more year closer to your second contract, which would be a lot of money, a lot more money than you'd be getting in year one or year two of your rookie deal, a lot more money than you'd be getting in the NIL revenue sharing world as well. Of course, you got to be able to hit in the NBA ultimately and be in line to get that second deal. We did have a text from Kenny on the Max Twin City Recycling text line. Got a few coming in. We'll get to those as we go along, but I wanted to mention Kenny's. He said, couple questions for you guys. Are you surprised Will and KJ haven't announced their intentions? And also says, we are almost to mid-April, and are we concerned they've only gotten one player from the portal? As for Will Riley, I would set aside $3 to $3.5 million for him.
I think that's about what you'd need to make it a real conversation.
Let's do the first part of it. KJ and Will haven't announced their intentions. Are you surprised? I mean, I wonder what the reasoning is for them not doing it so far, but there's no race to do it. The combine's not next week or anything. They're not in danger of missing any deadline. I'm not terribly surprised because we've seen players wait it out up into certain deadlines. I don't have any reason to believe they're even going to wait terribly much longer. I just have full expectation, and again, it wouldn't make any sense for either one of them not to announce, and I fully expect them to do so. But
there is a firm deadline for entering the draft, though, right?
There is.
Is it late April sometime?
Look it up. NBA draft entry deadline.
I want to say it's like the last
April
week of
26th.
April. Yep, makes sense. If it's April 25th and they haven't announced, maybe I'll be surprised. But there's still over 2 weeks until that date. So I don't know. They're probably just going through whatever process they're going through. I mean, like you said, there's not one thing that you could say for why they wouldn't do it.
Or maybe they're just being 18-year-old kids. They're like, hey, let me get a break now and not even think about what I'm going to do. There's going to be a really big process coming up for them. I'm not saying they're not getting in the gym and doing their work, but again, they got two and a half weeks to be in, and they're not in quite yet. But I'm not changing any opinion on what I think they're going to do based on the fact that they aren't. As far as concern, one portal piece in the middle of April, I think that there's a little bit of concern as far as what you need still, and needing still a big piece at the guard or wing spot, a star-level player, maybe even another starter, depending on what you want to do with Ty Rodgers as far as that goes. Now, Ty, even if you just look at it from your rotation, Ty's going to be a very active, is it going to be 25 minutes? That was around what he was, 22 to 25 minutes a game as a sophomore on that Elite Eight team. So I would expect him to be, if he's not a starter, obviously one of the first off the bench and to play in that 20 to 25 minutes per game type of role. But I think that they still need a perimeter shooter. I have questions about them in terms of backup playmaker, like who's going to be a point guard outside of Kylan. That's a big question that I have as well. I feel like the front court is decently solidified, especially if Ben Hamrickhouse comes back, although we haven't seen him do that quite yet. If he doesn't, would Illinois add another piece? It might be kind of more of a flyer, more of a, more than a one year immediate impact. It might be a guy you might be projecting on a little bit.
Do you want to add just a third body at center? A guy that probably understands he's not going to play much, but Brandon Lieb type of guy, or somebody from a lower level that just wants to play at Illinois but can give you a 6'11", 7-foot body as a third center in case of injury or illness like we saw this past year.
Sure. I think having Jaxis available this year would be
true.
somebody they expect to be that. I would wonder, would you just want to take an athletic body that if it's a game where you're getting out-athleted or rebounding, like whatever it might be, could you just throw a different piece in that front court?
I would like it.
And
if that option presented itself as an alternative to getting Rickhouse back, no offense to Ben, I would want to do that.
I'd be interested in it as well, depending on what exactly it looks like, what the price tag is, what all that entails for sure. But that's something I would look to as well. So concerned, I think it's still once the portal closes and we know everyone who's in, that's when I think it's easier to kind of have a judgment on it, because we still don't know what that final wave's going to look like, how many more guys are going to go in, and really, the result of the Dame Sarr, Will Riley push, if you go over from that and don't have some, huge pivot that works out, then that's going to have a big say on how we judge this offseason. If you get one of those guys, if Will comes back, or if he doesn't, you get Dame. Obviously, you still have other pieces that need to be filled, but those, if you ended up in an offseason where you got Kylan back, you got Tommy back, and you either got Will Riley or you got Dame Sarr, that's a pretty good place to begin going into next year. So I think that I'm still holding out some judgment, especially until we see who all is there to be had.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Right now, I'm just kind of staying patient with it. You got to be patient this time of year. Some teams have acted quicker, and they have pretty much their whole roster set, but there are a lot of teams, and I guess that's another point of concern potentially, is just that I do think there are a lot of teams that are going to be desperate here. So while there may still be plenty of names that become available, they're not going to be easy to get. But, yeah, there's still a week and a half of the portal open. We don't know everybody that's available, and we know that Illinois has got plenty of money to work with. We know Illinois has got Orlando Antigua on that staff, and we know that Illinois' sell, you'd imagine, to a guy in filling that role would be pretty intriguing. So I still am pretty confident that things are going to work out, but I'll start to get a little bit more concerned as we inch closer to the end of next week and when that portal officially closes, and if maybe the level of name that you'd want to see Illinois add isn't available or is going to be very difficult to get, that's where the concern would lie. But I still think there's enough time left that you can be patient with it and still feel like what we've seen. And again, it's hard to make the comparison because you're probably not going to come up with those caliber of players again. But like Will Riley wasn't in Illini till June last year. Kasparis wasn't in Illini till late May last year. Like things still play out, and the way this Illinois staff has found ways to reload and get the pieces they want, I have full trust that they're going to do it again.
Yeah, no doubt. And they should have the money, they should have the sell. And I think that if you are even if we operate on what we've expected that Will Riley is going to declare and stay in, if you still end up with Dame Sarr when it all stops, if it's not him, then it's another big piece as far as a wing goes. Add another guard to the mix. I think it's going to be important, and then decide whether it's one more on the wing or it's a front court piece. Other than that, I think you are shaping up to like what you have at this point, especially in the front court.
No, I certainly wouldn't mind locking in somebody else.
Yeah,
I certainly wouldn't mind if Dame Sarr committed today, or if a backup guard of some type or somebody
backup guard be nice
committed. I wouldn't complain about that. Wouldn't mind it.
No doubt about it. All right, we got a lot more texts which we'll get to as we go along. 217-359-2255, Max Twin City Recycling text line. Hey, we're going to tell you about the Illini 100 happening at Farmer City Raceway, When we come back, stick around for that and more Illini Hoops talk. This is The Drive.
Everyone deserves a second chance, right? Well, so does that awesome chair someone tossed. Two Men and a Junk Truck believes in second chances. That's why the Second Chance Garage Sale is happening April 12th, rescuing fantastic items from the landfill and giving them a lease on new life, maybe with you. From 8 a.m. to noon at the Two Men and a Junk Truck office at 701 West Bradley Avenue in Champaign, Saturday, April 12th. Find details, do good. Visit twomenindajuncktruck.com.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
This afternoon.
There's no word yet on exactly what happened, but I'm told at least one of the people on board obviously was the pilot, and then a family, we're told by authorities, was on board here when it went down into the Hudson.
Fox's Alexis McAdams, the Associated Press reporting that 6 people were killed, at least 6. The helicopter is submerged upside down in the river. Divers have been in the water. The FAA investigating an incident on the ground at Reagan National Airport where the wingtip of one American Airlines flight struck another on a taxiway. No injuries, but some House members were on board. New Jersey Democratic Congressman Josh Gottheimer posting that recent cuts to the FAA weaken public safety. The White House posting that safety critical positions have not been cut. Union officials have questioned that. The U.S. Treasury Secretary says as trade talks settle, there will be more certainty. This is Wall Street goes back to selling.
If the U.S. can't reach agreements with trading partners, President Trump says he could return to tariff rates he announced on dozens of countries last week.
Wouldn't extend the pause?
Yeah. We'll have to see what happens at that time.
The president has put a pause on those reciprocal tariff rates on most countries, but is increasing charges put on goods from China as Beijing retaliates with tariffs of its own.
We would love to be able to work a deal. They've really taken advantage of our country for a long period of time.
President Trump says he believes he and Chinese President Xi Jinping will ultimately reach a trade deal that reduces tariff rates.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Today, the European Union put its retaliatory tariffs on hold, but the Dow dropping 1,014 points, though finishing off session lows. America is listening to Fox News.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get your second month free for a limited time. You'll get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month. Here's Veronica and Jackie, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
And now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free when they use promo code SECONDFREE. Just call, click, or bring us your bill and see how much you can save. Because when it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or ConsumerCellular.com and use code SECONDFREE to get a free second month. Real people pay to share their opinions, and this ad plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Recapping our top story, at least 6 people reported dead in a helicopter crash into the Hudson River between New York City and New Jersey. It's believed a family from out of town was on a sightseeing tour. That helicopter is submerged upside down in the river. The House passes the Senate's version of a budget framework.
We're well on our way to getting, as we call it, the great big beautiful bill. It's a beauty. There's never been a bill like this one. We're trying to get it all into one beautiful bill.
Passage came after assurances to conservatives that more spending cuts will be included as the bill is written. They're concerned about the impact on debt because the framework also includes trillions in tax cuts that Democrats say will benefit mostly billionaires.
It's a toxic scheme that they cannot hide from because it continues to be on full display on the House floor and on the Senate floor for the American people.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, the House Speaker, denying Democrat claims Social Security and Medicare will be cut. The House also passing the SAVE Act, requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote in federal elections.
While it is against the law for illegal immigrants to vote in federal elections, Florida Congresswoman and a former Secretary of State, Laurel Lee, says the SAVE Act will help states with enforcement.
These tools will help the states ensure their rolls are accurate and help prevent any unintended errors.
Democrats argue the SAVE Act will make it harder for U.S. citizens to vote.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz at the Capitol. A federal judge just blocking the Trump administration from revoking the temporary legal status of hundreds of thousands of Cubans, Venezuelans, Haitians, and Nicaraguans. The judge finding Homeland Security's decision to cut short a 2-year parole granted under President Biden was based on an incorrect reading of the law. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Logan, everyone, let's check weather for East Central Illinois, Champaign and vicinity. Another damp morning across the area. Get used to it. That's the way it plays on out. Best window for any early season field work if it's firm enough out there over the next 2 or 3 days and part of the weekend. Into the weekend, too, with a general warming trend short-lived. Another couple of cold fronts and another couple of shower outbreaks expected for next week, but at least no major spring storm systems on the maps and charts. Partly sunny skies after the patchy fog birds away. There may be a stray shower in here mid to late morning and back in for the late afternoon up to 58 on a light west-northwest wind. Lingering shower chance this evening, mostly cloudy, 37. Could be a fog patch again here tomorrow morning to start off, then partly sunny and 53. Back up to near 60 on a bit of a west-southwest wind developing for the day on Saturday. Good looking day there. A warmer Sunday at 66, up to 73, and maybe a shower or two in the morning on Monday. Back to some chillier weather, but dry next Tuesday and Wednesday. Highs into the 50s, back to the 60s late next week, and a couple more scattered showers and thunderstorms too. For TVJ Broadcasting, I'm meteorologist Greg Soldier.
This is Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. We'll update you on the latest leaderboard at the Masters. Justin Rose making some more headway at the top there, extending his lead, and get you some other scores as we go along. Talk some more Illini basketball before we get out of here. Get your questions on the Max Twin City Recycling text line. But we got to tell you about the World of Outlaws, Illini 100, coming up at Farmer City Raceway Friday and Saturday. Your chance to see the action. I know the spectator gates open at 2 o'clock both days. You got the pit gates open at noon. Hot laps on Friday beginning at 6:30. Saturday beginning at 5:30. And we're going to talk to Bobby Pierce, a racer who won the late model series there last year. Oakwood native, joining us now on the Tapman's Towing phone line. Bobby, how's it going, man? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, buddy, it's going good. Yep, thanks for having me. We're excited to get racing this weekend in Farmer City. We actually have practice night tonight, so we're getting ready. There's going to be a lot of good cars here with Lucas Series off. So, yeah, it should be some of the best racing you'll see in Illinois.
As somebody who won this thing last year, what can you tell those that haven't maybe been out to Farmer City, what to expect as far as the action, the track, and you must like that one pretty well because you came away in first.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite events. It's actually the closest track to me, about 45 minutes from here in Oakwood. So, it's a great event. Obviously, like you said, last year we won it. And the 2 years prior to that, it rained out. So I won it in 2021 as well. So really, I've won it twice in a row. So we're aiming for 3 in a row. Hopefully we can get her done. But, yeah, man, I love this track. If you've never been to Farmer City, I definitely recommend checking it out. Like I said, this is going to be one of the best shows you'll see in Illinois. This is like the second biggest late model race that Illinois has this year, next to the Prairie Dirt Classic at Fairbury. So lots of good cars going to be here. Yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting.
I was reading up on you. I know that your father, Bob, is in the National Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame and was getting after it in the 80s and the 90s, and now you're on the dirt racing side as well. What, to your family and to you specifically, what's so fun or what attracts you to the dirt side of racing, and what do you think makes it different than all other forms of it?
Yeah, well, of course, like you said, my dad raced forever, and when he quit racing, I was just about getting to the age where I started racing a quarter midget, which is kind of like a go-kart. So, he obviously got me into this, but when I was a kid, I just loved watching race cars, loved everything about it. And then as I started racing them and, I got a little older and I was missing too much school to go racing. So I realized, though, we were getting pretty good at it. I was pretty good at it, so I decided to make it my job. And Yeah, I love it, man. I mean, it's a roller coaster for sure. And there's lots of sacrifice you got to make to do this, to be able to do it right. But yeah, we're fortunate to be able to travel across the country doing this and racing on dirt. It's just grassroots in a way. I've never been quite the NASCAR fan as I have been the dirt race fan. It's exciting to me. I love going in the corners and just slinging it sideways and slinging dirt, basically.
There you go. That sounds awesome. Sounds like a lot of fun, which you will have if you go and check them out. World of Outlaws, the Illini 100. You've got spectator gates opening 2 p.m. both Friday and Saturday. Hot laps 6:30 coming up on Friday, 5:30 on Saturday. You can go to worldofoutlaws.com, save $5 with code FARMER. So make sure you want to check them out. Bobby, as you're going down the home stretch of a race there, and again, take me back to last year when you won it. What's that like when you're sitting in the driver's seat, knowing whether you have a lead and you're trying to hold on to it, or you're trying to make up the difference there if you're chasing a little bit? What's that like down the home stretch of a race like that?
Well, yeah, it's definitely when you're in the lead, you're trying to save your stuff, get through lap traffic as well as you can. Obviously, not give up the lead. Hopefully we can get back in the lead again this weekend and run our own race and set our own pace. But I won 38 races last year, so it's kind of just like riding a bike, and you kind of get used to that pressure of having the lead and just trying to minimize your mistakes, basically. And yeah, man, it's definitely, though, when you're in the lead, everything goes through your mind. You don't want to have any mechanical failures, or you don't want to do anything that's gonna ruin your night, because you don't want to go from hero to zero. But
yeah, no, it sounds like it will be a lot of fun coming up this weekend, Friday and Saturday, and hopefully you continue to have fun on that track. Let's wish you best of luck for your 3 in a row if you can pull it off, and we appreciate you joining us again. World of Outlaws, Illini 100. Go to worldofoutlaws.com for tickets. Farmer City Raceway, Friday and Saturday. Bobby Pierce, Oakwood, just about 30 minutes from where we're at right now. So we appreciate you joining us, and best of luck coming up this weekend.
All righty, thank you. Yep, and once again, like you said, if you can come check it out, I don't think you'll regret it. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bobby. Bobby Pierce from Oakwood, Illinois, the winner of the late model series at the World of Outlaws in Farmer City last year, and like you said, won in 2021 as well. So he'll be going for 3 in a row as far as that goes. So that sounds like a good time. I need to get over there sometime and check that thing out. It sounds like it's a good party, as I've heard about that, and I know Lon's been over there, and we can ask him a little bit about that tomorrow when he joins us. We want to get to your texts. Max Twin City Recycling text line got plenty already as far as Illini basketball goes, which will be, I feel like, as we go through this spring, Kyle, it's going to be every day new happening in the portal. What's new on this guy, which we love it. That's why we do this. And if it wasn't this way, we wouldn't have a lot to talk about.
That is the one positive at least from your perspective. Yes. I'm not going to act like I have to deal with what you have to deal with during the portal cycle. But the biggest positive is that it's a content machine.
It really is.
During transfer portal window. It extends your Illinois basketball content window a long time.
No doubt about it. We did have a 217, and this name has come up periodically here recently, and I wish I had a better answer. Kennard Davis of SIU at 217 says would be a great fit. 6'6", good shooter, good defender, attacks the rim. I really think it'd be a perfect fit. Plays the 2 guard. And yes, we've mentioned him before, but St. Louis native, 16 points a game, 5 rebounds, a little north of 2.5 assists last year at SIU. 46% from the field, 38% from 3 between there on 5.5 attempts a game. So I didn't catch a lot of SIU this past season. Again, one that Lon could speak on, but he seems like a nice player, and maybe I haven't been all dialed into what his recruitment looks like. I don't know how far along he is in the process. It's not a name that's come up in my conversations to this point as far as digging into who Illinois is focusing on, doing Zooms with as far as that goes. But there's no doubt, Kyle, they need help in the backcourt alongside Kylan Boswell. They need perimeter shooting. They have it in the front court, but they need it at guard as well. And I don't know exactly what, Kennard Davis this past year played 34 minutes a game. There are guys that do that at mid-major level and maybe aren't as interested in taking a bench role, reserve role at the next step up. Maybe they still want to get, guarantees of high level of opportunity. But Illinois could use somebody in that second unit in particular. And again, I'm not saying that Kennard Davis would be that as far as, would be a starter at the high major level. Could he be? Obviously, his stats say that he probably could find the right situation and be that. But could he be a second unit piece for Illinois? That'd be pretty nice.
Yeah, I do wonder. This is why Lante needs to show up to work sometimes, because we need somebody who actually watched Kennard Davis play to really have an understanding of what his role would look like. I vaguely remember, I can't remember if it was off the air or on, and I guess we can ask him tomorrow, but I feel like Lon said he doesn't really see Kennard Davis as a high usage, like big time factor at the high major level, like Marcus Domask and Lance Jones were. But I mean, just from the surface level of like, let's say Illinois is interested in this guy, man, like 2 years ago, a guy, I don't know, would he have played on the team with Marcus Domask or been a...
I don't think he did.
Because he transferred up there.
Kennard Davis is a sophomore, so the year that Marcus was at Illinois, he was a freshman.
Either way, just a Southern Illinois wing and what Illinois turned one into 2 years ago.
Yeah, man.
That's a sell that should be quite intriguing to another one who could potentially make some type of similar impact. Although, again, I would wonder, would he be a guy you'd feel comfortable starting at the 3? Would he be a second unit type of guy, which, like you said, I do think as you start to picture what this roster could look like, there's a lot of different needs and like roles that certain guys could fit into. So I wonder. I just have not watched him play, so I will defer to somebody who has. Maybe somebody on the text line. I know we've got some Salukis that text in, man. So anybody who's seen Kennard Davis play, I would love to get your gauge on what you think he could be for Illinois.
And if you're Illinois State Redbird, if you're watching the Valley, you've probably seen him there as well. At 217, the same that texted in about Kennard said, he impresses me more than Lance Jones did at SIU. I may be wrong, though.
Okay.
Lance Jones was a pretty nice piece at Purdue. And I don't mean when I said, second unit guard, I wasn't trying to potentially undersell him. With Illinois, that's kind of where it gets tricky right now. Of other pieces will determine how that pecking order lines up. If you were to get Dame Sarr or a like piece, and depending on what Brad Underwood wants to roll with in his lineup, then maybe that is a guard that they'll need that would be in the second unit. But at the same time, it could be one that, depending how some things shake out, that that could be a starter. That could be a guy that is playing next to Kylan Boswell. In looking over a quick Twitter search, it does look like that Kennard Davis has had Zoom meetings with Ohio State and USC, as well as Texas. So those are some legit names.
Yeah.
Obviously, as far as programs go. And 24/7 Sports has him ranked as the 48th transfer, which is a lot higher than where Marcus Domask was. And yeah, I mean, if you told me that he was Lance Jones or even Lance Jones plus, not to say they're the same player, but I would take that in a heartbeat.
Absolutely, man. He was like the glue of that Purdue team. He was huge for them. And Kennard Davis give you a lot more size in terms of what you would be looking for at the high major level. I wonder, as a shooter, what volume that came on for him. But because that is something I do think you really do need at whatever position you prioritize or whatever you're adding at the guard, at the wing. Shooting's a big thing.
Yes.
You need. If you could get a guy that you feel comfortable at a mid to high volume can make shots for you, I think that's a huge need for Illinois.
No doubt. I think a 6'5" asked about Cedric Coward, and he's from Washington State. I wanted to touch on him in thinking about the conversation with Will Riley and what would pivot options be late in the cycle. I think if Dame Sarr goes through the draft as well, he could be somebody that is lining up right with Will in terms of an announcement. Now, that will really still yet to be determined with Dame, because how he performs this weekend and just what he ends up wanting to do will then, we'll learn more about what that timeline looks like. But Cedric Coward is a guy that only played 6 games this past year at Washington State after transferring from Eastern Washington. He had a shoulder injury that was a season ender. He ends up declaring for the NBA draft as he did last year, but also putting his name in the portal. But he is a bona fide scorer. Shortened sample size this year, but at Washington State, around 18 points, 7 rebounds a game through that, really the month of November. But the previous season at Eastern Washington, 15.5 points, 7 rebounds, shot 38% from 3. He's 6'6", 210 pounds. He just looks like a bucket, and a guy that can really score it on the wing, can do it in a variety of different ways. You see some back down stuff. You see some three-point shooting. You see some off-the-dribble moves, some cutting. So there's a lot there. I've heard that Illinois really likes him, but I don't know at this point in time. He just went in the portal yesterday that it's far enough along. And again, he might be somebody that waits it out, similar to what Jamir Watkins did last year and what it seems like he's going to do again. Jamir Watkins, we talked about him a little bit yesterday, but the explosive, strong wing from Florida State who's in the portal and going to go through the draft process. So those are guys that maybe along the same timeline as Will would be, hey, if Will stays in, you've got the money, you've got the opportunity to maybe go after a guy like that, Cedric or Jamir Watkins, or again, we'll see what the timeline lines up for with Dame. But yeah, he makes sense as somebody that they would be eyeing and in contact with, and we'll see where that goes from there.
Would you confidently be able to project him as a high-level Big Ten scorer for Illinois, knowing that it's coming from Eastern Washington and 6 games at Washington State, which is now technically not high major?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that in what I've seen, I'd have to watch probably more, but I think I would be comfortable with him as a starting level wing.
He's got the physical profile, right? What, 6'6"?
Mm-hmm. Projected right now as a second-round pick. You look both him and I think Jamir Watkins too. ESPN has as mid to late second-round pick types. I was looking up Coward in particular today, and that's the range that he's in. So if he's thought to be that as far as an NBA profile goes, I think he could probably go back to college and be, a high major star player or premium role or a premium wing ad as far as that role goes. But admittedly, I haven't seen like a bunch of him, but his stats do obviously jump off the page. But it's a good point that Washington State, you're like, oh, Pac-12. Yeah, there's no Pac-12 anymore.
Yeah, no Pac-12. Wonder who those 6 games are against.
Iowa was one of them. I know they were playing at the MTE with Iowa ultimately. I didn't think he had a great game there. 9 points, 3 for 10 in that one. The teams that he lit up in the early portion of the season weren't super impressive as far as who they played. Now, they did beat a decent Bradley team, good Bradley team, 18 points, 7 rebounds, second game of the season. But I'd have to look more into him, but I do know that Illinois likes him ultimately, and they really liked Jamir Watkins last year. Some people, if you watch him, we mentioned it a little bit with Jalen Sellers from UCF, but Watkins has some Terrence Shannon to him too.
Watkins would be perfect, man. He'd be perfect. I'd imagine he's going to get quite a bit of money.
He's going to be worth a lot of money.
There's going to be quite a bidding war for him whenever that happens. And, again, he's another guy that you're probably waiting till May, right, to truly lock in because of the NBA. So I wonder how much you could really, play that out, but he'd be perfect.
Yeah, and there are different ways to go about it. Like, obviously, Yaxel Lendenborg has already decided that if I go to college, I'm going to go to Michigan. I just don't know yet whether I'm going to go to college again next year. So there are some players that would rather figure out their destination and then go through the process. But, and I think there's from Michigan's standpoint, there's a little bit of a risk to do that.
How likely would Watkins be to stay in the draft, though? If he didn't stay in last year and he had a good year but on an awful Florida State team this year, did he improve his stock a ton? Or
I don't think so.
Okay. So he'd probably be a guy you'd safely assume probably comes back, especially if this $3 million figures. He probably is.
Yeah, I would imagine. That's a good point. It's a good point as far as that goes. So I think that it depends on certain guys. You know, how focused are they on the draft process? Some guys don't want to deal with their recruitments at all until the workouts are done or those type of things, and some are different. They're already starting to position for where they're going to go. So we'll figure that out as we go along, but those names certainly make sense. In terms of money, there was one more text I wanted to get to. 217 says $3 to $4 million is the range for all league, all American type talent. $1 to $2.5 mil for a potential starter 6-man. $25K to $750K for bench guys.
That seems about perfect, actually. That
seems right. Yeah.
Seems right.
I would agree with that.
Certainly, yeah. You're getting past $3 million if you're looking for a all-conference first-team level player based on some of these figures being thrown around.
It's crazy to think we're not that far. Like Terrence, 2 seasons ago even, coming back for that final year at Illinois, probably made in the 750 range.
That's insane. If he was in the portal right now, even coming off his true senior year, I'm not talking about like he gets a magical extra year of eligibility. That offseason portal today, $3 million, right?
Yes.
$3 million.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah. It's nuts. But that's where we're at right now.
You feel bad for guys like that they were just not that I feel Terrence Shannon's in the NBA making a ton of money. I just mean like the guys, even I guess you could say like who would be a good example that didn't necessarily go to the NBA but was such a great college player? I guess Kofi Coburn would be the example because he actually had it on the table.
Absolutely.
But just the guys that just missed this window of guys that could have made $4 million if they had this when they were playing. I almost feel bad for those guys.
Well, that's another thing. Like Kofi, when he was after that final season at Illinois, when it was like, "Hey, Kofi, one more, you could make $1 million."
That was kind of his decision. Like
it was.
I almost don't. I feel bad for him because I think he got bad advice, but he had the opportunity to make quite a bit of money and passed it up.
Right.
I'm thinking more of like the guy that just didn't have any money making opportunity. So Illinois doesn't have great examples because they didn't have. I mean, like Malcolm Hill, I guess.
And yeah, you wouldn't want them. Oh, guys that could make money staying in Illinois.
Guys that could, or you could find millions of examples across. I'm just saying a familiar example of a guy who could have made a ton of money in this era playing college basketball and just missed it. Like even, I know Ayo's making plenty of money now, but Ayo Dosunmu could have made his junior year $4 million today, whatever the case may be.
It might have, although he ended up being a lottery pick, so this is probably a bad example, but could have gotten you potentially another year of Myers Leonard. Maybe that's a bad example because, again, lottery pick, that means that guy isn't going back to school pretty much in any circumstance. But, yeah, and there is a gap there, right, between years for Illinois, post-2005 to...
Who would have been the highest money maker on Brad Underwood's first team? LaRon Black.
Yeah. The problem is you might have, going into that year, been like, man, we really got to take care of Mark Smith.
Oh, boy. Oh, yeah, would he have been the highest money maker on that team? Maybe.
Oh, it could have probably got you another year of LaRon. LaRon, it's easy to forget, had one more year of eligibility, but he decided to move on.
He was on Underwood's first team, though, right? But could have come back for that second team.
He had a really good year that year.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So it probably should have been LaRon from a production standpoint, no doubt, and could have gotten you a second year of LaRon Black. So all very interesting to think about. We can continue to take your text, 217-359-2255, Max Twin City Recycling text line. I do want to ask Kyle some baseball questions before we get out of here, and we'll get you, I said we're going to get you the latest leaderboard of the Masters. I promise to do that after this break. Before we do that, Let me do a little bit of work. I'll tell you about Busey. It's America's Saves Week, widely recognized as a national campaign where thousands of organizations join together to collectively encourage their communities to focus on their individual financial wellness. Here's some tips from Busey to celebrate. Save automatically. That's the easiest way to do it, to have a portion of each paycheck just dropped right into your savings account. You have increased your chance for success if you're saving automatically. Save for the unexpected, car breakdown, dental bill, or even a last-minute fun retreat. Should be a top priority for you to be able to make that move. Save for retirement. Save by reducing your debt. If you are paying down your debt, you are actually saving. And save as a family. How much better would Americans be with their money if they were intentional about teaching good money and savings habits at a young age? Visit Busey.com/financial pathways for more information on that. Invest in your financial future with Busey. Visit Busey.com or visit one of their many convenient locations today. Busey, member FDIC.
This is XYZ Insurance. How can I help?
I have a question about my home policy.
Okay, question about phone policy.
Home policy.
Okay, gnome policy.
HOME, home.
Technology is great, but sometimes it's better to talk with a real person. With Erie Insurance, you have a caring, independent agent who's with you from beginning to end.
We don't have any HOMEs on record.
Your Erie agent in Champaign is Thomas & Ellers Insurance. Go to erieinsurance.com for company licensure and product details.
When the storm rolls in, where will you go? Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your family with a custom storm shelter from Berg Septic and Storm Shelter Services. At Berg Tanks, their shelters are fiberglass and plate steel safe rooms that can be installed in your garage or exterior, in ground, or on a concrete pad. Built to withstand the toughest storms, giving you a safe, secure place when you need it most. Whether you need a compact unit for a small space or a larger shelter for the whole family, they've got you covered. Their expert team handles everything from excavation to installation so you can have peace of mind before the next storm strikes. Berg Septic also specializes in septic pumping, new system installation, grease trap cleanings, repairs, and maintenance plans to keep your home running smoothly. Call Berg Septic and Storm Shelter Services today at 217-367-8632 or visit them online at bergtanksinc.com. That's BERGtanksinc.com.
Are you ready to upgrade your home this spring? Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing has got the sale for you. Now through the end of March, offering a free water heater with the purchase of a new HVAC system, or 60 months, 0% interest on financing for a new HVAC system. It's the biggest sale of the year. Call Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing at 217-841-4728. Get a free quote for your home today. It's 217-841-4728. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend.
Hi, I'm Tyler Weaver, president of Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery. It's time to come home to Carpet Weavers. We don't want you to just like your new floors. We want you to love them. From waterproof floors and carpet to furnitures and design advice, we've got a team of experts on your side. We'll get you the best price and the best quality products. And complete your home with furniture and accessories. Buy it all with free financing too. Come home to Carpet Weavers, where floors, furniture, and family meet.
Hi, this is Kevin Rogers, president of the Philo Exchange Bank. Our bank's been through the ups and downs of the local agricultural community since 1883. With over 147 years of combined lending experience, let our local ag lenders work with you and help your farming operations succeed. Philo Exchange Bank, hometown community banking since 1883, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Well, I tell you what, though, A&R has been such an amazing, impactful company. Your grandfather, your dad, you've all gone through stuff. And your secret is what, John?
Well, I mean, you have to trust that you're doing the right thing, first of all. And you got to surround yourself with good people. And I think over the years, we've had some really good people that have been part of A&R. And, you know, we owe a lot of our success, if not all of it, to those people.
Neil, you could say A&R has built a great part of Champaign-Urbana. It's about people. Can you explain the culture, why people would want to work at A&R?
We've had several families where we've gone even 3 generations, and these guys are long-term employees. They want to stay with us, and it's rewarding to know that they want to be with us. We have their backs. They have our backs, and that's a unique perspective, I think, from anybody this day and age.
I'm positive because you're such a solid company. A&R Mechanical, a thriving leader 100 years later.
2 Men and a Junk Truck is emptying their truck, and they have some great items. It's their first ever Second Chance Garage Sale. They rescue cool stuff from heading to the landfill, dusting it off, and offering it to you. 2 Men and a Junk Truck believes in second chances. That's why they're holding their Second Chance Garage Sale. Come find furniture, household goodies, and unique treasures ready for their second act. Come out to the Second Chance Garage Sale at 701 West Bradley Avenue from 8 a.m. until noon on April 12th.
Back on the Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Let's get you updated on the Masters. Justin Rose, one more hole to go in his first round. A spectacular one. -8. He has a 4-stroke lead on second place Corey Connors and Scotty Scheffler, both at 4 under. And now Rory McIlroy also 4 under. He's still got some golf left to be played. He's through 14. So that's where it's looking like as far as the very top. Bryson DeChambeau still in action too. He's -2 through 13 holes, and a guy that Kyle and I both have a rooting interest for.
Looks like the only shot.
It
Morikawa has
right?
a good day tomorrow. Yeah. He's at what, even?
Morikawa is even. Yep, even 72 there for him. He's finished up. My guy Victor Hovland hanging out at even as well through 14. Sergio Garcia through 16. He's even. So Jordan Spieth +1, Justin Thomas +1. Brooks is still playing. He's +1 through 14.
Okay,
need to
better.
get him up there.
He was at 3 over last I checked, so he's still putting himself in an okay spot. You got to have a big Friday and put yourself in real contention.
Yeah. Where did let's see. We mentioned Dietrich +7, and then Brian Campbell. Where did he finish? He ended up at, why am I not getting that? Cam Smith -1. I'm trying to do even. Brian Campbell, solid,
nice.
Even par 72. Tied for 27th.
Love to get one Illini into the weekend. Let's go.
That'd be great. That'd be great for sure. Keep you updated on the happenings there at the Masters as we go along. We'll get you a final snapshot before we get out of here. But as we move into this segment, if you got more questions basketball-wise, file those in, 217-359-2255. We'll get to those as well before the end of the show. But I wanted to ask Kyle some baseball questions. I was looking at DraftKings, which I tend to do very often, but see the MVP odds boards. It's no surprise, but both in the American and the National League, you've got a pretty clear favorite. In the American League, it's Aaron Judge, -160, and in the National League, it's Shohei Ohtani, +110. Beyond that, you've got some bigger priced options. So, Kyle, outside of Judge in the AL, if I read you some of these names, I want you to give me a pick on who you'd like as a value beyond the favorite of Aaron Judge. Bobby Witt Jr. at +450, Gunnar Henderson 15-1, Corey Seager 18-1, Yordan Alvarez 18-1, Jose Ramirez, your guy, 20-1, same as Vladdy Jr., same as Mike Trout. Julio Rodriguez, 22-1. Adley Rutschman, 30-1. And Jarren Duran is 50-1.
It's so hard to pick against Judge. I did place a very small wager before the season on Gunnar Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
And now he missed the first week and a half on the injured list, and I think in his first 5 games has like 2 hits. So not off to a great start. Now plenty of baseball to be played. But that's where I would have gone, and now I think you're getting it. I think I got him at 10-1. Now he's 15-1. So maybe I was 12-1. I forget what I ultimately got him at. But I like Gunnar a lot. I think after what he did last year, he would have been there. Did Judge win it last year? Did he win AL
I think
MVP?
so.
Yeah, because I think Gunnar finished in the top 3, and he at one point made it a really close race, and then I think faded a little bit at the end of the season. I think he's a stud. I do wonder, can Mike Trout stay on the field all season long? And if he does, now you have to be baking that into betting on him, and that you'd need to be confident he can actually play a full season. If he can, I'd love to see what a healthy Mike Trout can do. I think he homered twice today.
Did he really?
I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
So maybe that was a day ago or something, but that's where I would get interested, because we know Mike Trout on the field, really, really good baseball player, and we know from past experience of MVP voting, the voters do not care if your team's terrible in baseball.
It's true.
So even if the Angels aren't going to do anything, now they've gotten off to a decent start, but assuming they won't, Trout intrigues me a little bit, with the full understanding that I'd be placing a very big risk on his health.
I like that call on Gunnar for sure. The thought of him not exploding onto the scene because of injury. Would love to see a full healthy season of Mike Trout and getting him back into the picture. It's just kind of been sad that for him, but also for baseball fans, that they haven't got to enjoy it. And obviously, there was a huge missed opportunity. Now, it wasn't just the player's fault, but the idea that the Angels couldn't put more around Ohtani and Trout to turn that into a team that was relevant in the postseason and having some real meaningful games of two just big-time stars and one just of generational talent, and Ohtani because of his uniqueness, and Trout, the type of resume he put together through the first, 6 to 8 years of his career. So love to see that he's off to a fast start for the Angels, an Angels team it's early, but on the high end of the AL West.
He did homer twice today, by the way.
How many is that for him now?
5.
He's got 5 home runs. What's he hitting?
5 already. Only hitting 205.
Okay.
But he's got the power, 895 OPS.
Can work with that.
I think if he could just stay on the field, I think he'll be right in that mix.
That'd be fun.
I ended up getting Gunnar. I just checked at 10-1. So now that he's 15-1, the only issue with that is he has like 2 hits right now, and Judge has like 6 homers or whatever. You're already in such a hole there. Like,
not that Judge can't get hurt or something.
Sure. But yeah, even though you're 2.5 weeks into the year, like,
that's the thing.
That's tough.
I was just looking at Judge's stats, and I was going to mention, but Judge is a freak, man.
I know.
He's played 12 games. He's got 6 bombs. He's got 20 RBIs, hitting 354. His OPS is 1,200 plus. You know, it gets into like funny numbers at this point in terms of on pace for what, but he's on pace for 81 home runs, just for fun.
He's unbelievable. He's insane. If Shohei Ohtani wasn't in the league, I think Aaron Judge, not that he isn't, but I think he'd be appreciated even more for like how unbelievable of a hitter he is. He's one of the best hitters in the history of the sport.
Right.
Playing right now. He's unbelievable.
No doubt. No love for your guy, Jose? Think he can do it?
He could. I just feel like he is what he is. Really good player. Is he ever going to have a season of MVP caliber? I question that.
Yeah.
I think he'll have a great season. I just don't know if he gets to a point where he's competing with Judge's numbers.
Makes sense. Mike on the Max Twin City Recycling text line says, Angels don't have a prayer this year. Dark horse, Jarren Duran if the Red Sox win the division. I love Jarren Duran as a player. I mean, he's a guy that can hit for average. He's got some power to him. I'm assuming, although I'd have to look this up, stolen base guy, right?
I'm sure,
maybe
right?
A little bit. Leadoff hitter that's got speed. I'd have to look what he ended up with last year in terms of stolen bases. He's got 4 so far this season. Last year, where are we at? ESPN. We need
34.
34. Yeah, last year, 285 guy with 21 home runs, 75 RBIs.
I do just wonder if his overall offensive numbers can get to an MVP level.
Yeah, it's a question. But 50-1.
It's not bad.
You gotta
Dark horse.
take a shot on that.
I do just feel like we've seen in the past that team success isn't really factored into baseball award voting. It's the guy who had the best season. So I wouldn't get scared off. Sure. Even knowing that we've seen Trout win it before on bad Angels teams. We saw Ohtani win it. Now, a little bit different situation with Ohtani, but those Angels teams were worth nothing, and he ran away with the award. So I wouldn't be all that scared off of the Angels not being relevant to stay away from Trout if he has a spectacular season from still winning.
How about from one of the worst starts to me taking Rafi Devers at 80-1?
Boy, was he horrendous for those first couple of weeks, but he'll be fine. I mean, he's really that good.
Okay, I was going to ask about NL next, but one of my questions, we talked about Mike Trout. If the Angels are where we expect the Angels to be come trade deadline, which is not a real player, which a team that isn't built to win now, I was looking at Mike Trout's contract, where
still got to be a ton of years left.
A lot of years, a lot of money. $37 million for this year all the way through 2030.
And he's 34?
He's 33.
33.
And it will go through year 38. Is it finally time for the Angels to just, I don't know if they have to eat any of that money, but to try to ship him somewhere at the deadline? And who do you think would make sense?
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about that. I do think from the Angels' perspective, if he stays on the field and does not hit the injured list come July 31st and is having a Mike Trout caliber season and you're in 5th place or whatever, I think you do it. I think it's time to do it. Maybe you wait. I guess it just depends, although I think teams sometimes that are in contention get more desperate at the trade deadline, but I wonder, do you just wait for the offseason knowing that there's still 4 years left? Although at that point, I guess you're running the risk of he could get hurt late in the year. I just think, yeah, if he the thing that will make him his most valuable is a team see him on the baseball field for 4 straight months without getting hurt.
Yep.
And if that happens, I think you have to cash in on that if you're the Angels, knowing that you're not going anywhere. Who would make sense for Mike Trout? Man, I haven't thought about this. I don't know if I have a great answer.
Or something. I don't know if that's something that they would. I mean, obviously he's from Philly, so there's that standpoint of they could try to do that.
That makes a lot of sense.
I think a team that's come to mind is somebody that's been trying to be really aggressive in some of these big-time pursuits. Ohtani was one of them. There was another one that they fell just short on, but the Blue Jays.
Good call, and they just paid Vladdy, so they're trying to set themselves up.
The Cardinals, of course.
They'll be buyers at the deadline.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
Bring them in. We'll take them. We'll find a place.
Who else would be a Mike Trout candidate?
It would never happen, but it'd be fun to see like Trout on the hitting side to actually give Paul Skeens some run support.
Yeah, the Pirates need any hitter they can possibly find. Now, they're not going to be able to pay that money.
Yeah, right. I know I put you on the spot there, but...
yeah, I wish I had thought about that, but I don't know if I have a great answer. I'm just trying to think of the top contenders in the league who needs outfield help. I like the Phillies, yeah, and that makes a lot of sense there.
And the Blue Jays are off to a pretty good start, too. And
Mets.
That's one that's I think is interesting.
Mets put him in that outfield with Soto.
Oh, boy.
Steve Cohen does not... Money is no object to him.
Doesn't care. Just as long as it's not a, hey, he's going to go across L.A. to the Dodger Stadium.
No. If you're an MLB front office that's not the Dodgers, could we create a 29-team alliance to say we are not trading with them? We're not giving them any more help.
Hopefully it's more effective than the Big Ten, ACC, what else was that? Pac-12 alliance?
Yeah. Allow them to put themselves in debt if they want to keep doing that. We are not making any deals or trades. We're not handing them Tommy Edman like the Cardinals did.
Tommy Edman's hitting great.
Because, of course, he's awesome for them.
I know. I know. I think he's got more home runs than anybody on the Cardinals.
We're not handing them Teoscar Hernandez like the Mariners did. They traded him, right?
I think.
Maybe they signed him, but
remember.
He's, of course, awesome with the Dodgers. As if their lineup, yeah, we need a lot more hitting help. We have Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani. But let's get Teoscar Hernandez, career season. Tommy Edman, best hitting season of his career. Will Smith, one of the better hitting catchers in baseball. How do you get him out? I want to. Thank goodness the Masters is on this weekend, because the Cubs in Los Angeles will make me quite frustrated, I imagine.
Right. Big Def did also, and he texted in like he just followed up. Said, I texted in 5 minutes before you talked trade for Mike Trout and said Mike Trout to the Phillies, which of course our friend Big Def out there in the Philly area. So I'm sure he'll be rooting for that, and that would be a spot that would be fun to see. Dodgers,
I think that does make the most sense now that I think about it all. Phillies, with the personal connection to, paired with the Phillies need. Someone's got to challenge the Dodgers. Phillies probably best equipped. Mike Trout would give yourselves at least a fighter's chance going up against them.
Harper, Schwarber lineup.
Yeah.
With Trey Turner. Wow.
With Wheeler and Nola and Sanchez in the rotation.
Jeez. That's sick. All right, let's do the NL side of this with the MVP. Will Kyle convinced me on a Cubby. Coming up next, it is The Drive.
Spring is here, and as the weather heats up, the sports action heats up at Circus Sports Illinois. From baseball to basketball to hockey, Circus Sports has it all. Circus Sports Illinois isn't just sports betting, it's sports betting the way it should be. High betting limits, tight money splits, and exceptional customer service. Whether you're looking for playoff futures or props on your favorite players and more, Circus Sports has you covered. Download the Circus Sports Illinois app or visit circusports.com today. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I'm Justin Ike, co-owner of Fred's Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning, Electric, and Underground.
So, Justin, tell me what you see as typical when it comes to sewer repair. Give me a scenario.
Your sewer's backed up and somebody comes along and says, you need this repair for X amount of dollars. Here's my price. And you don't think to go looking for another company or a second opinion because you don't feel like you have time.
So is it possible that you might get charged a little more because it's kind of a desperate moment? Do some companies do that?
Oh, absolutely they will. They know you're in a pinch. Typically, if you call us, me or Will can be out there within an hour to look at that problem for you. Whether you call me first or you call me second, make sure you give me a call.
Anything else, Justin?
You can always trust Fred's.
Great to know. Thank you. That's Justin Ike, the co-owner of Fred's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, Electric, and Underground. If you want more information about this great 45-year family-owned company, just go to fredscu.com. That's fredscu.com.
You have money laying all around your house. You just don't know it. And no, I don't mean selling your great-grandma's good china. I mean all the old metal items you don't want to use or get rid of. Don't pay someone to haul it away. Bring it into Max Twin City Recycling and get paid to have it taken off your hands. They love new customers and are more than willing to walk you through their process step by step. Come check them out at 2808 North Lincoln Avenue in Urbana.
Starting it over is what we do at Max Twin City Recycling.
Hey, where are you headed?
To Kelsey Furniture in Tuscola.
What do they have there?
What don't they have there? Living room furniture, benches, chests, love seats, sectionals, tables, bedroom sets, hutches, nightstands, end tables, cabinets, mirrors, stools, clocks, lamps, pillows, rugs, desks, media consoles, patio furniture, Tempur-Pedic mattresses, and more.
So, everything.
Yeah, probably could have just said that.
Kelsey Furniture, quality for less.
At Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery, we're flooring people with amazing service, great design advice, and unbeatable selection and the best prices in town. It's the perfect time to update your home with waterproof flooring, carpet, hardwood, tile, and more. Then complete your rooms by shopping our incredible selection of furniture and accessories. We also offer great financing options. Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery, we're flooring people.
Hey, Justin Rose dropped the stroke. He's -7 as he finished up. 65, spectacular round for him. as he leads the first round at Augusta. Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Corey Connors, 4 under. Kyle, we needed one. We need Bryson to get a little bit closer to the top of the board.
Need Bryson to pick up a couple more here.
Be nice. Nice to see if we can get this thing done. About to wrap up the show. Before we do, I wanted to ask you about the NL. Shohei Ohtani is plus 110 to win yet another MVP. That would be his fourth.
Have to be.
Jeez. He won 2 in the AL, won 1 in the NL last year, and then could get another one this upcoming year. Oh, by the way, he's going to be on the mound this season.
That's the thing. I could not possibly place a wager on anybody else to win NL MVP knowing that Shohei's going to pitch too this year. You know what he's going to be as a hitter, probably the best hitter not named Aaron Judge, maybe even including Aaron Judge in the sport. And, yeah, he's off to a fine start this year, OPS over 1,000, 4 homers. The only hope you would have of maybe him not winning it would be if he comes back and pitches poorly. And maybe voters just get tired, even if he's awesome offensively. If he doesn't pitch all that great coming off Tommy John or doesn't even really pitch that much, maybe voters would be like, oh, look, see, he didn't pitch well this year. We're tired of voting for him. Let's give it to somebody else. Other than that, Ohtani is going to win the dang thing. I find it so hard to ever beat him at MVP, a guy that does it on both sides, and you know what you're getting with him as a hitter, probably the best hitter in the NL.
If you're looking outside of him, which you make great points as far as that goes, Juan Soto plus 650, Tatis plus 750, Kyle Tucker plus 750. Huh, Kyle?
I would be interested in that. I think he's going to be MVP caliber player this year. He looks awesome so far.
Ellie De La Cruz 12-1, Mookie Betts 13-1, Bryce Harper 15-1, Corbin Carroll 20-1, Ronald Acuna Jr., who's not back yet from injury. He's along with Jackson Merrill and Francisco Lindor at 25-1. Former Cub Kyle Schwarber 40-1.
It'd be Tucker or nobody for me, I think, other than Ohtani. Betts, how's he been so far? I haven't paid attention.
I'd have to look that up.
It's tough, though, because he's on the same team as Ohtani, although we saw him. Was that last year or was it 2 years ago that he was right in the mix to win it?
I think it was 2 years ago because he really pushed Acuna.
Yes.
In 2023, yes, finished second in the MVP that year. 307 average, 39 home runs, 107 RBIs.
I do think Tucker is going to be right in that mix, if not Ohtani, because, I mean, he looks awesome so far. We talked about what he was on pace to do last year. Only played 78 games, but at 23 homers in those 78 games. Would have hit near 50 with the numbers he had. He's in the prime of his career. He's in a contract year trying to make as much money as possible, playing at Wrigley Field, which last year Wrigley was such a pitcher's park. It was like the second biggest pitcher's park in baseball just because they had terrible weather luck there. But normally you can expect some long balls to fly at Wrigley in the summertime especially, and he's gotten already off to a nice start on that front in the cold weather. So I think Tucker would be decent look if you didn't want to go after Ohtani. Other than that, I'm not totally sure.
If I gave you 3,000-1 on Carson Kelly, would you give me $5?
No.
Minimum $5 bet, 3,000-1 to win $15,000.
I'll pass.
Dang it. I don't know.
Not going to play enough.
Might be missing a golden opportunity here.
Yeah, I mean, he's if he keeps this up all year, maybe he'll push Shohei.
Yeah. Bryce Harper, I'm of a positive mindset with Bryce after he homered last night. We talked off the air about home run picks. Kyle has just killed DraftKings so far on the home run bets day after day. He hit another one last night. Carlos Santana, right?
Yep.
And I
didn't hit mine today, though, so.
I was a coward. I didn't bet Bryce to homer.
Ultimately, I know, you should have.
I bet his bases. I'm like, oh, yeah, bases will be safer. What you got? Because he got a four-bagger with the home run. But
I placed 3 MLB futures before the season started. It was Gunnar at 10-1. It was Zach Wheeler plus 650 to win the NL Cy Young. Now, he didn't pitch well this last time out, but did his first 2, so we'll see where that one goes. He's been so close so many times. I'm like, let's see if he can get it done this year. He's so consistent. And then my other one, which I feel really good about right now, Jacob Wilson, 12-1 AL Rookie of the Year for the Athletics, hitting 396 right now with a 979 OPS to start the season.
Nice.
Everyday player for the A's. I got in on him. I feel decent about that one. But those are the three I placed. I don't know if any of them will go anywhere. Wilson would be the one I'd circle as I feel okay. That one might work out.
That sounds pretty good.